Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining our session today. Today, we've got Dr. Shirley Thompson, who will be leading us on a series on developing our coaching skills and culture. This has been a series that we've been asking for a while, and Shirley has kindly offered to offer us some few series for developing our coaching skills. Let me talk a little bit about Shirley. And Shirley has asked me to make it very short and precise. So if you've got a pen and paper, there are 3 things I would like you to know and remember about Shirley. Just 3 things. 1, she's a software engineer. 2, she challenges positively. And 3, she's a coach. These are the 3 key things I would like you to remember about Shirley. And she'll take us through the rest of the session. All of the sessions will be recorded and the videos will be made available after the session. And I'll be here to support Shirley. If you've got any questions, do put it in the chat box and I'll be looking through the chat box. Thank you all for joining. And Shirley, we would love to hear your thoughts today.
Brilliant, William. Thank you. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you clear.
Excellent. Well, lovely intro. And I do hope to challenge people positively today. I hope I can demonstrate I'm a software engineer, maybe, when we get that opportunity in. But mostly, I'd like to be a coach and have sort of a coaching conversation, as I interpret coaching conversations in our session today, as much as is possible on a webinar anyway. We're talking about soft skills today, a very human endeavor, very complex, because all of us humans are complex, aren't we? We're all individuals. We're all desperately to stay individual. And that makes communication a challenge for us all. So when 2 people come together, sparks might fly, so to speak. So some of you have said that you're leaders, which is great. So whether a leader or a coach, you take some responsibility for deciding who you want to be. So if you've all been rushing around right now, maybe you could take a few deep breaths and relax while I do a little intro and a little welcome to get us in the mood for a conversation. So let me see if I can move these slides on. There we go. So first the welcome. Why the whole series? Well, we want to really think about the agile coaching culture that you're all working in, because as leaders, you will be influencing that. So in the whole sense, we want to prompt thinking, encourage more awareness, experiment, and then encourage experimentation and learning through practice. That's what I'm trying to promote. Why I've got 2 there, I don't know. And there's oh yes, I put a wrapper around it. So I'm trying to challenge you on how much you might be influencing that culture. And the essence of any one of these webinars is that I'd like a little bit more wisdom at the end of it. So whether I'm a little wiser, that would be great. But if you're all a little wiser and you can take something away, I'll be very happy. And I'm up for questions at any point. So if you haven't put in the chat why you're here today or what you'd like to get out of it, feel free to put something in there now or at any time. So I have a request, a few requests, and it's a bit of a one-sided attempt at contracting, which we're going to be talking about today. So I'd invite you to be curious and open to things you might be becoming aware of. Sometimes that can be uncomfortable because you disagree with something, but just be open to what's happening. If you can use video, that's always great, but I'm happy for you not to, but just please, who's laughing? Is that William?
Not me, Shirley.
Oh, it's not you. Sorry to accuse you.
No, that's all right.
So did I say something funny? Did you notice what I said?
Yes, Shirley.
Okay, I thought perhaps I'd said something was amusing and I hadn't realised. Okay, I could hear somebody laughing, sorry. So if you can give full attention, that's great. and help us all to kind of create a relaxed space where we can listen and reflect, respect each other and share ideas. And I really encourage you to think about the fact that when people are airing things, they might be wrong, and I might be wrong. You know, you might have a different opinion to me, but we are all learning in this space. So whatever gets said in this room might not get said elsewhere. So best to talk about it as, you know, as though we're experimenting, and all the comments stay in the room. So this is my one-sided attempt at contracting for our conversation. If you've got any special requests, by all means put those in the chat as well. So here's our agenda. Obviously it's going to slip 5 minutes a little bit. I'll do my best to keep on track though. So I'm going to explore one topic, which is coaching versus conversation, and particularly how we make the distinction between when we're coaching and when we're just having a conversation. So what makes the difference? I'm going to use breakout sessions if you're willing to participate in that. And really I'm looking for your reactions to what I've presented. And then I'm going to challenge you to think about contracting for all conversations. And then we'll wrap up by deciding whether that's a good challenge and you might accept it, or you might not. So we'll just see how things pan out at the end. So first question then, to engage your thoughts. What guides you to make a distinction, or not, because you might not make a distinction, between coaching and conversation? So in other words, I'm asking, how do you know when you're coaching and when you're not coaching? So I thought it might be good to share some ideas in the chat box, but maybe I could ask William, as he's here today, what ideas he might have. How does he know when he's coaching and when he's having a conversation? William.
Okay, when I'm coaching, that's when I am listening more. When I'm in the conversation, I'm also, the difference between that is when I'm in a conversation, I am processing and getting ready to talk once the other person finishes. But when I'm coaching, my listening and attentiveness is higher, and I want to listen more to the person I am speaking to.
Okay. Okay, so that's so what you're saying is you manage yourself. So there's a distinction about how you're managing yourself. So you've set an intention for yourself that you're going to be coaching, so you're going to listen more.
Yes.
In that situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I've got a question here. Am I correct in saying coaching is a Scrum Master role? I think so. I think it is. Do you think it is, William?
Yes, coaching is a Scrum Master role. There are other roles within the Agile environment who also perform coaching. The Scrum Master is more focused on coaching the team.
Okay. So let me invite anyone else to unmute themselves and just see if we've got any distinctions, other distinctions between coaching and just any conversation. So was it Isaac that was talking to me earlier?
My name is Adewale.
Okay, go ahead, Adi.
So for me, coaching, I believe, would have to have a structure as to what you want to discuss or what you want to implement, versus a conversation, which is just, you don't have to have a structure as to how you want your conversation to go with anyone. Your conversation, the topic of whatever you're conversing about would determine how you relate or reply to that. But for coaching, it has to have a structure on how you want to deliver what you want to deliver to the other party.
Okay, great. Okay, that's great to key me off onto the next bit of the presentation then. Thank you, Aluwali. Right. So I'm interested in where you get your knowledge, but a lot of us get some guidance from training, but sometimes we have to make up our own minds, all right? We have to make up our own rules and our own structure for how we're going to do things. So here's my presentation then. So I'm trying to argue what I think the difference is. So here's my definition of coaching that I've got from the ICF, which is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So this is what a professional body is saying that coaching is. It's partnering. And there's a definite idea of actually contracting or doing that handshake. You know, we're partners. We really are holding our hands together and doing something together. And contracting, in my view, is very clear in coaching. So as a professional coach, I don't think I would be ethical if I didn't do some contracting up front, so that the person I'm coaching knows they're being coached, right? They need to be prepared for coaching, I think. Now, if we compare that to conversation, I found a definition online that says it's just sharing of thoughts and ideas between two or more people. And, you know, this open image suggests that there may or may not be a relationship between people. You know, there's some vague relationship between them, perhaps. For example, you know, I don't know most of you as participants on the call, but we do have some sort of relationship because we all know William. So there is a kind of very thin, maybe, but some warmth there because of that connection. But, you know, conversations, quite often we don't think about the relationship that we've got with someone while we're having that conversation. And I think for coaching, you really do need to think about the relationship. You do need to think about the formality, and that handshake does signify formality in some sense, and that structure that Adewale mentioned. And also, I think it says there's a commitment there from both sides. So I hope you agree there is a difference there. The reason I'm here is because my passion, if you like, is that we don't think about relationships enough. And in my doctoral research, what I was studying was soft skills through people practicing coaching. And when they practice coaching, even for very small amounts of time, they change their attitude at work in general conversations. So to me, that was really powerful, amazing in a way, because they literally had 1 or 2 sessions and they switched their mindset into having intentions for relationship. And I came up with this model for soft skills, which I believe covers any soft skill you're likely to mention. So, you know, there's 3 foci of attention. So you need to look at yourself. So for all your personal skills that are focused on you, you need to focus on other people for all the interpersonal skills that you're using. And then you also need to focus on relationship. And if you focus on those 3 things, you've got soft skills understood. But we're often missing that relationship piece. So let's consider, what are your intentions in general for work conversations? Because I'm really getting to the point of saying in any team conversation, we do need to contract for a conversation. Much like we have agenda for a meeting, you know, that is contracting. So I'm thinking, well, for most of our work conversations in a team, we need to have intentions set. So I'm inviting you to consider, and write in the chat box, just to consider 1 or 2 work conversations that you have, and then think what intentions you've got. So there will certainly be outcomes you're looking for. But are there intentions on anything else? You know, are you thinking about the other person at all? So any thoughts, anyone? Isaac, can I pick on you as you're a coach? I'll invite you to speak as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
You must be used to setting intentions for your coaching conversations.
Yeah.
How do you feel about setting intentions for most conversations in a team?
I think first and foremost is to kind of like make sure that there's an understanding. There's an understanding from my point of view, and from I understand them and they do understand me as well. And as William also said, am I on the right path? Is that the question that you asked? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you are. Yeah, because you are saying understanding. So now you're seeking something from somebody else. So that must mean a conversation. If you've both got an understanding, you must have spoken about something.
Yeah, and also to gain clarity, to try and find what their shortcomings or what their challenges are, so I can bring clarity to them. So it enables them to be able to do their work more efficiently.
Okay. Right, brilliant. All right, so I'm hoping you've got enough thoughts about your work conversations to think about setting intentions at the outset. So I'm wondering, William, if we can use breakouts now and get people to talk in pairs.
Yes, the breakouts are ready.
Okay, so I'll just skip over that one. So I'm really looking to find out what intentions are actually spoken about between people. So if we can put people in pairs for, let's say, 5 to 6 minutes, we should have enough time to recap at the end.
Okay.
If anyone wants to say anything while doing that, that's fine.
So an invite will come to you. Please accept the invite and you are able to go into your breakout rooms.
Okay. So I'm just going to invite people to talk about any situations they could think of where they might air intentions, or where they think they're not airing intentions, but it might be useful to do so. So that I think somebody wrote in the chat, for example, how do I know if someone else has understood what I'm saying? I think the essence of coaching is not just telling. It is about engaging the other person and setting up the conversation so that the other person is willing to give feedback if they don't understand. All right, or if they want, they can express what information they're missing, or where their misunderstanding is. So maybe you ask them a question and see if they answer reasonably well, for example. So any input from anyone from the breakouts? Did you manage to have any discussion at all?
Yeah, so for me, in our what do we call it? In our group, we were just basically talking about how to have an interaction with our team members, where there will be understanding. Right. And I think one of the things that Benny said was, sometimes you go into meetings with a plan of doing something, and with an action point, with the aims and objectives, and you don't end up achieving it. I'll use my own personal experience as an example, where I had a workshop recently and I had set plans of what to achieve, but people talked so much that I wasn't able to achieve that. Yeah, so that was some of the stuff that we talked about. I don't know if I've missed anything, Benny.
No, that's great. That's perfect. And basically what you're saying is that you didn't have commitment from everybody to keep to the time. It's a bit like William and I trying to keep time today. We made a commitment that it's half an hour. Yeah. So, we're trying very hard because that's our commitment to everyone.
Just to add to that, sometimes you go into like a session with an intention. You have an intention, like for this meeting now, there was an intention, and then the conversation kind of it goes off track, and that conversation is also very important. But because you have a goal, you have an objective, it's sort of very difficult to know when to say, okay, let's continue in this direction or let's come back to this direction. It's something that I struggle with.
Yeah. So when I'm in coaching mode, all right, I contract for a 30-minute session. I ask the client what they would like to take away at the end of 30 minutes. All right. And we talk about what's realistic to achieve in 30 minutes so that we're both bought into, we've got this thing we're working on in the 30 minutes, and that's what we've decided to do. Then when the conversation seems to go on off track, I would intervene and said, look, our conversation seems to be going off track. How would you like to proceed? So then it's a joint decision about how the group wants to handle that going off track business. Because as you say, it might be important, but essentially you're recontracting. It's a bit like, agile design. You've got a set of goals, but actually things happen and you recontract the goal setting. So I think it's hugely beneficial to have goals, so in order to recognize when you're going off track. So I think you're doing the right thing. It's maybe not having enough intention about how you're going to handle it. So there's a lot of assumptions going on about someone's going to handle this rather than the group's going to handle it. So, or the two people are going to handle it. It's a partnership rather than a conversation.
Thank you very much. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Thanks.
Yeah, and in the agile world, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're getting people to collaborate. So getting people to agree and the best way forward is part of the role that we're executing. So that's what I would call being a coach all the time. And this is why you have to be a coach in a sense in all conversations, because it's the one role that this leadership role is the one role you're doing, but you can't be a coach 1 minute and not a coach another minute, in a sense. There's a sense of consistency people are looking for, especially if you're trying to build a certain culture, I would say. But you're allowed to disagree with me. So let's just recap that I've challenged you, that I'm really looking for two-way airing of intentions in any conversation. And that means you need to get the intentions out in the open so everyone's conscious of them so they can share them. And the question is, do you agree? So if you might agree, you might not agree, but you also might think, well, it's useful sometimes, but not other times. And there might be some barriers that you want to think about. And so I'm really throwing it open to questions now, because we've had our 30 minutes. I thank you very, very much for your engagement. I'm sorry about the breakouts if they didn't work, but obviously some people did manage to get that to work, but we'll do something different on that next time. So William, do you want to handle the discussion?
Okay, has anyone got any questions to ask Shirley with regards to coaching? We'll take 2 questions, and then if you've got any other questions, Shirley, can you show your email address, please?
Yeah. Yes, if someone does ask a question, I would like to know whether they agree or not agree to start with, that we air intentions more.
Any questions?
Thanks, William.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you,
thanks.
Shirley. Thank you so much, and thanks, William.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks.